So Emi Buendia is on his way to Aston Villa. Let's talk about it. Guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. Bit of a quick one coming at you today, but when this story broke the other night, I thought that it was in need of its own little video, to be honest with you. Obviously, we've been covering Norwich and Emi Buendia quite extensively on the channel over the last year or so, and I thought it would be worth detailing the player that Aston Villa are going to be getting here. We'll look at it from a few different angles in terms of Villa's perspective, the player's perspective, and Norwich's perspective as well, and look at a couple of replacements that Norwich could be going for in the transfer window. A deal in the end of which is worth up to £40 million with add-ons all calculated and that sort of thing. It's going to be Aston Villa's record signing and Norwich City's record departure. Let's first of all talk about things from a Norwich City perspective, because obviously going into the Premier League in what's going to be already a bit of an uphill battle, it's not ideal to be losing your star player. One of the potential positives that could come out of this is the fact that this looks to be a deal which is getting done and finalised really quite early on into this transfer window. You know, this could have been a scenario where this dragged on throughout the summer. Different bids were coming in from different clubs. The player wasn't sure what was going to be happening, and Norwich didn't have that money and time to look to actually reinvest that back into the squad. You know, if say this had gone down to the wire on deadline day or something like that, Norwich would have been in a much trickier position to go out and try and replace Emi Buendia. So the fact that this happened so early on does play into Norwich's hands a little bit. You know, from a Norwich fan's perspective, in an ideal world, Emi Buendia maybe gives them one more season, you know, another go for Norwich in the Premier League or something like that, but I don't think that anyone can really begrudge Buendia of this move. You know, the fact that he stuck with them last season in the Championship was obscene in itself, to be honest with you. He was a player who by no means should have been playing his football in the Championship last season. He was levels above everyone else in the league that year. His creative stats were absolutely off the charts, with 15 goals and 16 assists in the end, 3.1 key passes per 90. In terms of chances created in the Championship, he was by far and away, you know, head and shoulders above everyone else. And this is what is really quite exciting from an Aston Villa point of view. If you think about the season that Ollie Watkins has just had for Villa in the Premier League, in his first season at that level, he scored 14 goals and got 5 assists. This was already a Villa side who were pretty decent in terms of chance creation, especially with Jack Grealish in the squad. To be adding Buendia into that equation, and I'm guessing he's going to be coming in to fill that void which is going to be left by Ross Barkley. In this season gone by, Ollie Watkins would average around about 2.6 shots per 90. You add Buendia into that equation, and I think that Watkins gets another 1-2 shots maybe per 90 with the chances that he's going to put on a plate for Ollie Watkins. Suddenly Villa are going to be getting into a position where I think that Watkins could absolutely explode next year. I think that Grealish is going to be all the more better for having Buendia in that side. You know, when teams will be coming up against Villa in the Premier League, Grealish was always that one threat who teams would look to nullify. You know, the fouls would be going in on him. That's been shown by Grealish being one of the most foul players that we've seen in Premier League history. The fact that there's going to be another threat coming from the other side, you've got Pereira still to add into the equation as well for Villa. This is such an exciting squad at the moment, and we've seen Villa do this quite well actually in terms of investing into players in the Championship. You know, we've seen how well the Matty Cash deal worked out, the Ollie Watkins deal worked out so far. Another thing that really goes a little bit under the radar with Emi Buendia is the fact that he's not sort of like a luxury player, and he's not someone who's going to be quite static until the ball comes to him and then he comes alive or something like that. He is someone who completely does the other side of the game, you know. He is someone who can be trusted in those big matches to carry out a game plan in terms of his defensive duties for a match. And sometimes this maybe goes against him with his discipline. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if there are a couple of red cards and stuff like that. I think he's been sent off 4 times in the past 3 seasons for Norwich. He's also accumulated quite a few yellow cards and things like that as well. But for a sort of like flair player who we associate with beautiful football going forward and things like that, he does the other side of the game fantastically. He averages around 2.4 tackles per 90. He really gets stuck in, and I think from the player's perspective, I see why this move makes sense, to be honest with you. I really am starting to buy into this project that Villa have got going this season in terms of the recruitment, in terms of the play style, in terms of a team who is on an upwards trajectory and doesn't look like slowing down anytime soon. I think this is the right project for Buendia to be getting involved with, to be honest with you. You know, the fact that Aston Villa have been able to fend off Arsenal for this move really speaks volumes about their ambitions going into next season. Hopping back over to what this could mean for Norwich going into next season, it's not ideal. In terms of one player's sort of importance to a side, don't get me wrong, Norwich without Buendia will still play some fantastic football and will still have this Daniel Farke philosophy. And to be honest with you, out of sort of any club who I'd back to get a replacement in there, Norwich would be one of those clubs, you know, with the way they're run. Stuart Webber's always someone who is 3 steps ahead of everyone else, you know, he's got that forward-thinking plan. If we think about the last time this happened for Norwich after the sale of James Maddison, Emi Buendia was that next replacement. So the chances are Norwich are probably going to sign someone as Buendia's replacement who none of us have ever heard of, and he's going to come in and absolutely smash you. But in terms of a couple of options who could potentially be some feasible ones in terms of players that we all know about, West Brom's Pereira is a name who is being bandied about at the moment, and I'd love to get some West Brom fans' perspective on this one, and Norwich fans as well. He's just had a really excellent season with West Brom in the Premier League despite the circumstances of them being relegated. Because what I do think is quite important here from Norwich's point of view is I think that this money needs to be reinvested. Here, you know, we saw Norwich last time in the Premier League not breaking the bank or anything like that, and don't get me wrong, I'm not expecting them to go out and spend like 40 million on a player or something like that, but a sizable chunk of that Buendia fee needs to be redistributed throughout this Norwich squad, you know, whether some of that goes to strengthening that midfield, getting another option in up front, or getting that, you know, creative replacement for Emi Buendia. Pereira, I think, ticks a lot of boxes, if I'm being honest with you. He's a little bit different to Buendia in terms of play style, but another one in terms of the last sort of 10 years in the Championship that I've seen. Pereira is right up there as well. He was absolutely brilliant in that promotion season with West Brom, and he's more than proved this year that he's able to cut it at Premier League level with 11 goals and 6 assists. Danjuma would be another name which I'm sure Norwich would be interested in. Whether they could pull off this sort of deal remains to be seen. He's another one who is quite different to Buendia in terms of play style. Obviously Danjuma traditionally, you know, plays on that left hand side or can play central, but after losing a player of the calibre of Buendia, there is a feeling amongst Norwich at the moment that they do need that sort of Pereira or Danjuma, that real game changer to come in this summer for them. You know, maybe even if they could use a bit of that money to invest into getting Ollie Skip maybe on a permanent basis or something like that, that would obviously soften the blow alongside it as well. But there we have it, guys, that will wrap it up for today's video. Like I mentioned before, would love to get your guys' thoughts on this one in the comments down below, whether you're a Villa fan, whether you're a Norwich fan, or just a general fan of Buendia. What do you think this will mean for Norwich going into next season? Do you think that they are now doomed because they've lost Buendia, or do you trust them to reinvest some of that money into the squad? Also, in terms of potential replacements for Buendia, Norwich fans, who would you like to see come in through the door in sort of like an ideal situation? I'm so excited to see the link up between Grealish and Buendia next season. That is going to be, like, Villa fans are going to be in dreamland here, realistically, aren't they? Those two linking up is going to be, it's going to lead to some special things. But other than that, guys, that will now wrap it up for today's video. Like I said, if you did go into enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Also, do subscribe, check out the Patreon as well. Link that is down below. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.